Hundreds of thousands of people watch my How the AR-15 Can Send You to Jail video. In that video, I discuss a 2009 study by Meyer, Ph.D. from Trinity University called Will It Hurt Me in Court? If you have not seen that video, I suggest you go look at it because this video would be almost meaningless without seeing that one. The research team assembled multiple sets of mock juries, gave them the exact same fictional scenario where a homeowner shoots an unarmed burglar. And then they asked whether the homeowner was guilty, and if so, how long the jurors thought the homeowner should go to prison. The only variable that they changed, everything else the same, the only thing they changed was the type of gun used. They found that all else being equal, jurors were 44% more likely to convict if the gun was an AR-15 instead of something like a Ruger Mini-14. Convictions happened 65% of the time for the AR-15, 45% of the time for the Mini-14. Sentences were also dramatically different. 2.5 years for the Mini-14, 7 to 9 years in prison for the AR-15. Everything else being the same. It's wild. So I posted a link to the study for everyone to read. Every now and then, people online will get worked up about that video. I'll get tagged on Reddit, AR-15.com, some other internet hellhole by someone who's angry with me about the video, and I don't really get it. Not my theory, not my study, not my conclusion. It makes sense to me as a self-defense lawyer, this study does. I thought it was something that people should know, and I'm taking it to account myself. That said, there are critics, mainly commenters and forum posters, not to pick on them. Most are mistaken about the study or the law, but there are some valid points we should discuss in this video. One common criticism is there's no way a jury would convict a clean shoot just because the type of gun used. That begs the question. The jury defines whether it's a clean shoot or not, and if you're saying it's not clean, then you're kind of contradicting the jury, so it's a bit of an oxymoron. Now that said, I hope that's true. If someone breaks into my house with a machete and I shoot him with an RPG, I hope I would walk away. But the study cleverly used a deliberately ambiguous scenario. A homeowner shoots an unarmed intruder who's holding a VCR in their house. This is really important because in a clearly legal shoot, the gun's not going to matter. I agree with that statement. But in situations like this where you're kind of in a potential gray area, it can make a difference. At least the study tended to show that. Another criticism I've seen is no one can point to a case where the firearm type actually impacted the verdict. Show that to me. That's a misunderstanding of how our system works and how legal research works. If a jury says it was a bad shoot after seeing all the evidence, it's hard to later say, oh, well, they picked that because of the gun or not because of the gun. It's really hard to kind of figure it out. I mean, really, unless it makes national news, you're probably not even going to hear about these cases because state trial cases aren't in searchable databases like Westlaw or Lexis unless they go up on appeal. And even if they were like in these databases, it's really hard to try to find them and prove that the gun was the deciding factor. Now, one thing you could do after a case, you can talk to the jurors. I always do, but not everyone does, and those conversations almost never get recorded. Jurors might not even realize the gun influenced their own decision, and even if they did, they probably wouldn't admit it. If you said, hey, did the gun influence your decision? They'd say, oh, no, prosecution made a good case. All the facts pointed to this guy being guilty, no question. They're not going to be like, oh, well, you know what it was, is man, that gun was scary. But let's say even if you found these cases, even if you found jurors who admitted that the gun influenced them, how many of those cases could you find? Certainly not enough to be statistically significant. That's why controlled experiments like this study matter. You can keep the facts identical, you can change only the gun, you can repeat this enough times, as many times as you want, until you get meaningful data like they did in this study. But let me go over what I would say is a fair critique, and this is one that I noticed when I was looking at it the first time. The study's biggest weakness, demographic homogeneity. It's just college students from like 1 or 2 schools in Texas, I think. Not a true jury cross-section, but maybe that was by design. Maybe they wanted to control the variable. A better version might diversify participants, maybe segment results by political beliefs, age, other factors. The study only split results by gender, and it was pretty much all college students. At the end of the day, it is just a study. I didn't conduct it, not my life's work. My nephews didn't color it at daycare. I don't give a shit about it from a personal perspective. I just made a video about it that I thought was helpful and informative, but I will say the conclusion from that report seems plausible. Whether they realize it or not, I think many jurors will judge a person partly by the weapon they used. As an extreme example, your granddad defends himself against a burglar with a Nazi-marked Luger. How do you think that's gonna play in court versus Grandpappy Snubnose he had when he was a gumshoe detective working 9 to 5, taking money from the mob? And you know, prosecutors know this. They love showing guns to juries. Guns rarely help the defendant, if ever. And they can absolutely hurt you. Your lawyer will fight to keep that gun out of the courtroom, away from the jury, as prejudicial. The prosecutor will fight to get it in. That fight happens every week in America. Look up Westlaw, AR-15, within 10 words of prejudice, and see that there's probably couple dozen cases where defendants complained they weren't given a fair trial because the jury found out they owned an AR-15 or they were shown a picture with an AR-15 or whatever. This story just confirms what trial lawyers already know. The gun you choose might not just save your life, it could also help decide whether or not you lose your freedom. But one more time, I know I've said it like 100 times. Guys, not my study. I'm just telling you, I found it very informative. It seems a lot of you found it informative too. Tell me what you think in the comments. Honestly, if you were on a jury, you know, let's rephrase that. Not if you, because I think you and I are going to look past the gun. But tell me what you think. Do you think it's plausible that a layperson, maybe someone who's never shot a gun, if they see like a scary AR-15 versus, you know, granddad's over-under, do you think that's really going to make a difference? I asked that question to you, and I would love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Guys, as usual, thanks for watching. Take care.